Yeah, that's a great question. You know, it was a real big letdown leaving Bristol last year, Fall Bristol. I mean, that's the one where we led the most laps, thought we got a shot to win it, and then Kyle nipped us there at the end. You know, that was the one we thought, okay, this one just got away from us. And you know, he was down for a little bit, but you kind of got to, this racing thing, you got to move on, right, really quickly. You got to have short-term memory, move on. We talked about it a lot in the off seasons about the things he needs to do to grow and to win races. I mean, it's tough to win races. It is at this level, right? I mean, he's got immense talent, but there are 15 other people, 20 other people with his same story at some point in time in their career, and they have experience on it. So, you know, he's just got to move past that. He's done a good job of really focusing on the things he needs to do better. I would tell you the last 3 weeks I've really noticed a change in him. Sonoma was a turning point for us. We went to Sonoma, and we were just awful last year at Sonoma. I mean, it was terrible. He didn't feel like he knew what he needed to do. I didn't feel like I could help him. He went to work. We did, you know, some racing school stuff there for Sonoma. We went into that weekend knowing it was going to be tough and we were going to have to battle. And the first 10 laps of that race were pretty tough. I mean, it could have gone either way. Like, I thought we were going to slip back and have a bad weekend. And he kind of dug a little deeper, found something different, stopped kind of complaining, focused more on what he could do better, and we get a 7th place finish out of that. And then I think that confidence carried over to Chicago. And so I'm really expecting even bigger things from him. You get a little confidence in him, you know, we all know we can do it at this level. It just kind of helps you once you kind of get the first win. The entire team knows that. So I'm looking for big things. I mean, it's cool.
And you mentioned the offseason. What were those conversations like?
Just a little bit of kind of where we went wrong last year. You know, last year was odd, right? Because you had a lot of winners behind us in points. Like at one point during last year, we thought we were going to points our way into it, and we may not have to win a race. And then you have so many winners, you know, that are behind you in points kind of sneak in to where we kind of got clipped and didn't have a shot to get in that way. So some of it was about just maximizing our finishes. When we've got a 10th place car, let's bring that thing home 10th place. Don't try to do more than is necessary and wind up bringing home 25th because we tried to do more than what the car could do. And I think he's you know, done a great job at that. Some of that was on me too, though. There were 4 races last year where we didn't qualify. That's me being too aggressive. So I got to take some of my same advice that I give him about, you know, just doing what we can do and getting out there and qualifying and not necessarily pushing so hard that I don't get to qualify and put him behind, and then he feels like he needs to work hard to overcome that mistake.
Okay, we'll go next to Bob, and then we'll go to Matt.
Bob Pockers, ESPN for Joe, and then Chris wants to jump in as well. Do you feel Erik was feeling a lot of pressure? You don't replace Matt Kenseth and not win?
I think drivers are like quarterbacks. I say if you don't like pressure, you need to get out of your profession because it just comes with it. And I think there's always pressure, particularly in this sport, because what? You're the guy with the wheel. It's a huge deal. We know in our sport right now, there's a huge amount of young talent, which is really great, I think, for our fans. We've got a lot of good, very, very good young drivers coming up. And so I know that Erik kind of measures himself against those other guys. And went through last year, him and Chris, and this year, coming into this year, I think Chris is probably right. I think that's our 3rd straight top 10 for him, and then for him to win tonight. I think he kept his poise, did a very good job of staying calm. And the other thing that I think about tonight, I think back to the young drivers for their first win. I remember Bobby Labonte, everybody's crying at Charlotte. He did his first win. Tony Stewart, I remember that first win. Dale Jarrett was the second, but it was Daytona 500. Those are just emotional times, and you really appreciate them because it means so much to him and to family. I talked to Carol, his mom, and obviously with losing his dad, just a huge deal. He was a tremendous supporter for him. It's a great story. I think it's a great night, and it's a huge deal, and we're going to celebrate it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was. We've never had conversations about him following in Matt's shadow and replacing the car. I think he's more a guy of knowing what his capabilities are, knowing what he thinks he should be capable of doing, and measuring him to what he thinks he should be doing, and not necessarily measuring to the guy before. I think there have been plenty of conversations where we've had, and he's been upset with how he ran, you know, and just thought he was better than that, but nothing that we've ever had comparing to previous drivers or anything.
We'll go to Matt, then to Jerry, then to Hill.
Matt Weaver, Auto Week. I've got a question for both of you guys. First, for Coach. I remember hearing about a conversation that you had with David Wilson and Alan Miller at Homestead right after Erik had won his first truck race at Phoenix, where basically they were trying to pitch you on Erik's long-term success. What do you remember about that conversation, and what did it take for you to be sold on Erik?
I think, first of all, there's quite a few people that have had a huge impact on Erik and his career. If you go all the way back, Kyle Busch has a great eye for talent. I think that's where we first hear about Erik the first time, and I think it was a
Small Derby.
Derby or whatever it was. So you got Kyle, then all of a sudden Toyota has had a huge effort on their part. Working with us, David Wilson, Ed Laukas, Bob, everybody there at Toyota has really been, all in on Erik, and it took a lot. There's been a lot of work, hard work, to get Erik, in this position, and so I think he's got a lot of people there that have really made a huge effort. So the first part of the conversation, I talked so much I forgot what it was.
Just what did it take to be able to sell you each of those guys that were part of the table?
I think, what happens with us is our whole team. I know Coy, and when JD was here, and our whole group, the family, we all talk a lot. We always see the young guys coming up. I think Toyota has a big input, and we've got quite a few young guys right now on our board. And you're talking about Xfinity, and you're trying to guess and look at and see where you think the next young talent is coming. And so those are just kind of, everybody talks about it. I don't think anybody can take one, no one person had a lot to do with this. It was everybody, and in particular Toyota, because they're a big part of supporting Erik with us.
And for Chris, you've had an opportunity to work with a lot of the top Toyota and GR guys. In what ways is Erik similar to each of those guys, to Kyle and Denny, and which ways is he different, and what stands out about Erik?
He's similar to Kyle, being aggressive. He's similar to a young Kyle, being aggressive. I was around when Kyle first came to JGR and Toyota, so I was a part of a lot of seeing, how aggressive Kyle was, how even he overdrive a little bit at that point. Erik has a lot of those tendencies, but Erik, I think, has a little more patience than Kyle did at that point in his career. He's most similar to Kyle in just about everything. Denny's way different, except I would say their personalities away from the track, away from the race car, are totally different. Erik's as laid back as you'll be around, but behind the wheel, very aggressive. And for me, just to kind of talk about the first interaction I had with Erik was 2015 when Kyle was hurt, got injured here at Daytona in the beginning of the season. I was a crew chief on the 54 then. Erik got to sub for 7 races for me that year. And I can vividly remember the second Chicago race. He didn't get to practice because he was running trucks somewhere. And we had Drew Herring practice for us. Erik showed up, qualified that car. And we had the car too loose. We had it, set up for Drew. It was too loose, so he qualified 11th. He was bummed about it, down. He got over that really quickly. He drove that car from 11th to the lead and led the rest of the race and won. And that was what solidified it for me. It's like, he can not practice this thing, get here, show up, and run with everybody. So that's kind of where I knew he had the ability to do it. It's just a matter of continued learning and progressing.